That's caught. Randall Cobb into Chicago territory. Randall Cobb inside the 20-yard line. Randall Cobb is going to score.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Open Book. I am Eli Berkovits here with Zach Jacobson. We finally got football back, Zach, and we got some really good football out of the Packers, coming out with a win versus the Vikings, obviously the biggest news of the week. 43-34, high-scoring game. I think a lot of people were surprised at how good the Packers' offense looked. So just real quick as we get started here, what are some of your first takeaways from this offense and kind of what you saw that got you excited?
A lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motion,
yeah,
which Aaron Rodgers said today isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So,
good.
Yeah, very good. We're gonna get used to the Aaron Rodgers, the wristband Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback sleeve Aaron Rodgers. So a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motion. And something I noticed too, just looking at the box score after the game, the top three guys, Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, they combined for 315 of Aaron Rodgers' 364 passing yards. And this is something that we talked about all offseason coming into the regular season, how the wide receiver depth chart isn't really going to matter outside of those top three, maybe top four guys. And you saw it right there just because of how many different weapons they have in different positions, the running backs, the tight ends. We saw those guys rotating, cycling on a consistent basis throughout the game as early as the first quarter, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we were seeing all sorts of formations, all sorts of different looks, different guys out there. We saw DeGuara out there plenty. AJ Dillon got some touches. And like you said, when it comes to the receivers, and we knew this, the bottom of the depth chart guys are guys, like we said, we're looking for upside. But most importantly, it was the top three that made the impact. Obviously, MVS had those two drops that you don't want to see. But at the end of the day, I think you could feel pretty confident that MVS is at least on the right track. We're hoping towards having that season everyone's been talking about for a while now. So I was really excited about that. But our first question of the day is an important one. And Zach, we got to know what you're drinking in honor of the win.
It's not alcohol.
Oh.
I know, I'm sorry. I haven't drank since March, so I'm not an alcoholic or anything. Okay, so right now. No, this is brisk iced tea.
Well, brisk iced tea. I haven't had that in about 10 years, but that was my move at the vending machines, a can of brisk iced tea.
Dude, yeah, they're so freaking good. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot how good they were, actually. This is probably the second time I've had it in like maybe the last 5 years.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that brand at all in years. So we got another great drink takeout here. Oh man, and now we got the lettuce head. You know, people are still in quarantine. You can't be getting haircuts when everything's shut down. Why do you think I got this hat on? You know, if I took off the hat, it would be a mess.
Yeah, I decided not to wear the hat this week. You know, I just wanted to let the mane flow free. You know, I'm not getting a haircut yet because my barber is still closed. And my barber, Helen, super sweet old lady. She's the only one I trust cutting my hair. So
yeah, I have the same thing. I have a barber where it's like I'm not going anywhere else. So when she opens up, I'll be going back. But until then, I got my Packer hat, so I'm good. But so offensively, I mean, number one, something interesting. I'm sure you saw this, but 43-34, first time in NFL history in a game ended with that score, which I thought. Scorigami. I thought that was very interesting. But just some of my quick takeaways from the offense. Like you said, the motion is what I love the most. I went and rewatched the game, and I did most of this calculation myself, so it might not be exactly accurate, but the Packers ran 75 plays, excluding the kneel downs at the end, and I counted 45 plays that had pre-snap motion out of the 75. So that's 60% of your plays. I mean, in the beginning, it was virtual. In the first half, it was virtually every single play had some kind of pre-snap motion, and we saw it working, and it was really good. Obviously, Tyler Ervin was a big part of that. Nitsuj pulling through once again. Love it. But Tyler Ervin, I mean, right, I think we spent a lot of time talking about Tyler Ervin leading up to week one. And it's not like he had, 150 yards and scored, but we saw when he had the ball in his hands, the kind of difference maker he could be both on special teams and on offense. So how do you think they could expand Irvin's role moving forward? Because I think he's ready for it.
I was honestly surprised he didn't get more looks as a receiver. We saw him come in, take a couple jet sweeps, whatnot. But yeah, definitely get him some looks at receiver. Have him come in kind of coming in the slot. Todd.
No, I definitely don't own those, and I'm also terrible at math. So again, don't trust it. But I double checked a few times. I think I'm pretty accurate on those numbers.
You better be careful. Someone's gonna come after you, and they're gonna.
Yeah, it might have been 74 plays, whatever. I'm the worst, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, get him in the slot. That's the kind of guy that you can weaponize and play in a variety of different positions, whether it's in the slot, line him up in the backfield, get him out in space. That was something that I thought Matt LaFleur did a great job of doing, not just with Irvin, but with a lot of different guys. He got them the ball in space, and he gave playmakers a chance to make plays. So Irvin is definitely one of those guys. So going forward, I think that was, what we saw against the Vikings was just kind of the first little ripple effect in the water of what Irvin can do and what he's going to do. I think moving forward, they're definitely going to give him more opportunities, depending on the situation, depending, what the game plan sees fit. Like, for example, if the Lions, if they're presenting some kind of coverage that obviously, doesn't really favor something that Matt LaFleur wants to throw and involve Irvin, then fans are going to throw a hissy fit over it. They're not really going to understand the logistics behind it. Like, oh my God, why aren't they involving Tyler Irvin? You have this gadget player, get him on the field. Certain instances dictate the usages of these players. So yeah, I think moving forward, we'll see more of him depending on the situation.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I'm really excited about Irvin. I think he could be used even more than he was, but now that we talked about some of the good, unfortunately, we do have some bad, and that is in the case of injuries. The big one, the major one, Lane Taylor, after battling all of last year and winning the starting job in camp, unfortunately tears his ACL in week 1, will miss the rest of the year. So how do you see them moving on from here? Let's say Billy Turner was back in practice at some capacity today, as well as Lucas Patrick. So it looks like they do have the versatility and the depth there, but how do you think they're going to move on from Lane Taylor's injury?
It's hard. It's hard to replace a player. I almost said a Taylor like Lane Taylor. It's hard to replace a player like Lane Taylor just because he gave you that versatility at guard and at tackle, and especially knowing, him battling back, what he went through last year. He won the starting job out of camp, and he went down with the injury, lost the job to Jenkins after the biceps injury. He came back, won another job, and now he's down again. And if I'm not mistaken, he goes into unrestricted free agency after this year, I believe.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's played his last snap with the Packers or not, but he's a tough guy to replace. But I think what they saw in those 15 snaps from John Runyon, I think that's a pretty promising start just to replacing the guard position for now. We don't know if John Runyon can bounce out to tackle in the NFL as a professional. So for now, just replacing that guard spot, I think you kind of have a good little indicator of what the Packers have right now in the interior, at least. Plus, Lucas Patrick is going to be back. It was a shoulder injury. It wasn't anything serious. They're going to get Billy Turner back eventually. That's someone who can bounce between guard and tackle. So, yeah, losing Lane Taylor definitely hurts, but it's not really detrimental to their offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, it sucks to see him go down, especially, like you said, battling back from injury, winning the job that not a lot of people expected him to do, and then he goes down. Really sucks, and I like Lane Taylor. I hope he recovers well, and whether it's at the Packers or another team, he finds a spot somewhere. But I like that you brought up John Runyon. So I don't know why NFL Game Pass has not released the coach's film yet, and I am having anxiety attacks hourly, but I did watch the 15 snaps that Runyon played. He didn't have there weren't that many opportunities for him to really pass protect because the Packers were already leading and running, but he looked good. Like you said, he looked good, and he looked like someone that if you needed a pinch, you could put in at a guard spot. But this is something that was floating around on Twitter, and I've seen it from a few people that and I've actually seen both right and left tackle. People are thinking that Elton Jenkins could end up being a tackle for the future on the Packers. I know last week you mentioned that you want to keep him at left guard because he's so good there, and I agree with you. But I saw right before the show started, I don't know who on Twitter posted it, but they brought up the idea that what if the Packers didn't pay David Bakhtiari and slid Elton Jenkins out to left tackle? I'm not saying that's something I agree with or I'd want them to do, but Elton Jenkins clearly has the versatility to play anywhere along the line. So do you see him at some point potentially being a tackle, whether it's the right or left side?
I can't see it on the left side. Because if you do that, you don't pay David Bakhtiari, you create an issue at left guard. You feel, I mean, we're assuming he can play left tackle, right? We're assuming he could do that at a formidable level in the NFL. You flip him out to left tackle, you create this deficiency at left guard. Now, you flip him out to right tackle. I just don't know. I don't think you move him out of position from a spot that he made an all-rookie team in as a rookie. In year one, he came right in. He got plugged right in, and just right out of the gate through those 14 games he played, he was just so good. He was this impenetrable force that just stood out as a second-round pick. And like going back to John Runyon too, that's someone that could possibly be a future right guard starter. You might have your future guard tandem on the roster right now. We don't know for sure. So I don't know. I don't think there's just no reason to really complicate that and overthink it. You know what I mean? But yet again, I'm also the guy who said they're not going to start Jenkins at right tackle. I'm the guy who said that they're going to keep him at left guard and they're probably going to start Rick Wagner, who technically I was right.
Yeah, he ended up there.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out there right now for anybody listening. Rick Wagner did technically come in the game, so technically I'm not that stupid. Okay,
no, definitely not that stupid, but
just a little bit.
I agree that Jenkins, if you could keep him a left guard, he's shown how good he is there, and obviously we've both said it plenty of times. They got to pay Bakhtiari. Losing him would be a huge loss, so I don't even think that should be on the cards. I think they need to sign him, and then moving on to a maybe less. Oh, go ahead.
Well, last thing pertaining to that though, it does help, and I think we talked about this last week. It does help knowing that he has that positional flexibility where you can bounce him probably to either tackle spot, and you can have him, really anchor either side of the offensive line, because that was something Lane Taylor did in that Atlanta game 4 years ago. Sunday night, week 2, he came in, he replaced David Bakhtiari at left tackle. So, yeah, that was something that Lane Taylor brought to the table. And we know the Packers love versatile offensive linemen that could fill, any deficiency on the offensive line. So, yeah, just knowing you have that in Elton Jenkins, I think that's good enough.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nice to know you have that. And then Kyle brings up a point about Lindsley. We know he's an impending free agent, but I've been starting to think recently, I mean, number one, he's still pretty young. We drafted him in 2014. It's not like, giving him another extension would be some kind of bad move towards the end of his career. He's been really good, and I could be wrong, but I don't see Lindsley being that expensive. Like, unless they feel very confident in a backup plan at center, do you think they could just give him a 2 or 3 year extension for not too much money? Because everyone's basically deciding Lindsley's a foregone conclusion, not going to be on this team next year. At least that's what, Packers Twitter seems to think. So I don't know if I agree with that. I think Lindsley's really good. I don't think he's going to cost that much money, and it's not like he's old. He's never really dealt with injuries. So do you think he should just be someone we let go to save the money, or would you like to see him come back?
See, I agree with you. I don't think he's really going to be super expensive unless he puts together a full 16-game season like how he played on Sunday, because he had a great game on Sunday. Yeah, a really, really great game. If he does that, then he's probably really going to price himself out of the Packers range. But he's not really one of the top centers in the game. Like, when you think of the top centers of the game, you don't think of Corey Lindsley. I think when you at least guys within the Packers blogosphere, within the realm of Packers media, obviously Corey Lindsley's near the top of the list, but he's one of those underrated guys that flies under the radar. People don't really think of, as far as national national. Jacob, come on. I'm trying to throw out intelligent thoughts here. All right, come on. I'm trying to focus.
King of the Hill. I've honestly never seen King of the Hill, maybe ever in my life. Is that a problem? Oh no, it looks like it's a serious problem.
Jacob, can you find me a new co-host, please?
I'm sorry, I think it missed me. I think it just. I mean, I guess it didn't miss me. I think I just missed it. I don't know. I was more on the Family Guy train than the King of the Hill train.
Family Guy's good too. Kyle, my God, you know what? Actually, I expected that from him. He likes, I think he likes brown sugar Pop-Tarts. So
brown sugar Pop-Tarts, yeah, awful.
But
anyways, yeah, no, but right here, I think we have a pretty good question about Christian Kirksey, because he had a not a very necessarily overly impactful game, but I think he had a good game. Some more of the Pop-Tart talk here back from Janelle, but what did you see out of Kirksey in game one, and how you think he could build off it? I think he had a good game. It wasn't an incredible game, but definitely something he could build off of and something I was confident in. And then obviously we'll talk more about the guy who played next to him, which was quite the storyline.
Right. So for Christian Kirksey, it's hard to tell, because we haven't really gotten to see the All 22 yet. I feel like I'm gonna have to hold someone's family hostage at the NFL headquarters or something to get our hand on.
It's driving me nuts, but yeah.
But from we did see, and from my personal rewatch, he led the team in tackles, which, as we all know from watching Blake Martinez since 2016, sometimes that's an empty stat. It's more of a volume stat. It's great. You lead the team in tackles. It shows you're doing something, you're being productive, but it's not going to tell the whole story. It's not going to tell what you were actually doing. In Kirksey's case, I saw him flying around a lot. He was very aggressive around the ball. He flew downhill. He was just very, I think active would be the right word, as opposed to what Blake Martinez was during his time in Green Bay, which it was a really nice change to finally see that. I know it might sound like recency bias, comparing the two, but Kirksey, I thought he was just such a different player and just he had a different dynamic in the second level of the defense. So Katie makes a really good point about him not playing since last September. He missed pretty much all of last season. So him finally getting his sea legs under him really getting acclimated to, the full speed of the game again. And then you throw in the whole condensed off season, not having those preseason reps, that whole, issue. I think it's fair to offer, this is something I actually told Perry. When you're evaluating stuff like this, you can offer a little leniency, when you're evaluating these types of players, these types of situations, but you can also practice a little prudence, be a little hesitant when you're evaluating things like this. You have to take every little variable in this context into consideration. So in Kirksey's case, hasn't played in a year, condensed off season. He was still flying around the ball. He still looked pretty good, maybe a little bit slow, maybe a little bit, kind of reluctant to do certain things, but he's still really, really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely something that I'm excited about. And like you said, he hasn't played in a very long time, no preseason. So that is going to make an impact. But I think as the rust wears off, he's going to get better and better. And like we were leading up to, Chris Barnes, kind of an unsung hero sort of on Sunday, highest graded defensive player for the Packers, according to PFF, which people have their opinions of. But regardless, Chris Barnes got promoted on Saturday to the active roster. No one knew what to expect, and he comes out there, played a really impressive game. And Katie wants to know if he's playing over Summers and Burks. I think we had our answer on Sunday, if he's playing over Summers and Burks. Am I wrong?
No, you hit it right on the head. I mean, for him, this undrafted free agent, to get promoted to the active roster 24 hours before the game and get the start in their base defense next to Kirksey, I mean, that tells you all you need to know about Barnes, his work ethic, and the type of camp he's had. And unfortunately, it also tells you a lot about how they think about Oren Burks, what they think about Ty Summers in that linebacker room. Burks,
I mean, if Burks couldn't get on the field Sunday, then I just don't know if he will. I mean, you're a third-round pick, everyone, but Kamal Martin, basically the one guy in front of you gets hurt, you have your chance, and the guy doesn't even really see the field. You have an undrafted guy promoted 24 hours before the game, start ahead of you. Definitely nervous about Burks, feeling like we may not see much of him for the rest of the year. But this was something early on in the game that definitely made me nervous. And in my opinion, I thought it was simple. Once the Packers got inside the 5-yard line, you turn around, you hand it to Aaron Jones. Do it 4 straight times. He proved last year he will get in. I don't care if it's 3 straight, 4 straight. He's going to do it. He's that good. The offensive line is that good. So for me, inside the 5-yard line, look, Devontae could have caught that ball on the 4th down play, but I don't care. I'll take my chances giving it to Aaron Jones behind Elton Jenkins and Corey Linsley and just push or put Rodgers on a sneak. For me, throwing near the goal line when you have a good running back and a good interior offensive line, for sure at center and guard, when you don't really need to pass unless you see an open opportunity to do so. But obviously they made some adjustments throughout the game, but that was my thought. And early on in the red zone, I just think if you have 1st and goal at the 4-yard line, run it with Jones and run it with Jones and run it with Jones, and he's going to get in the end zone. But that's or even Dylan. But you know what I'm saying. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, this is something that you and I actually talked about. We were DMing during the game.
Yeah.
How just absolutely stupid it was. They were just they were trying to outsmart themselves in the red zone. And I don't understand. I don't care. I don't care what the analytics say. I don't care what Ben Baldwin says about running backs. I don't care what any of that stuff says. When you have Aaron Jones or you have A.J. Dillon, which this is the type of thing that they drafted him for. This is why they spent a 2nd-round pick on him. Yeah, you want to run him into the ground in December at Lambeau, and you want to, give him those carries to just wear down a defense. But when you're inside the 5 and you're at the goal line and you are sniffing the end zone, you could smell it. And it smells so goddamn good.
Right there.
Yeah, it's right there. Get A.J. Dillon, get those giant freaking tree trunk quads, pound him in the end zone. It's not. Yeah. It is not rocket science.
Yeah, it's that simple. Really, it's just that simple. I said it like last year. I think the only time the whole year where it was like we got stuffed bad on a short yardage run was the Carolina game before half, where Jamal Williams got stuffed on that 4th and goal right before half. Every other time Aaron Jones touched the ball, and even Jamal inside the 5, whether it took 1 or 2 attempts, they ended up in the end zone. So I just think when you get that close and you have the talent that you have at running back and you have a good offensive line, you run it there. If it comes down to, 3rd and goal at the 8-yard line, okay, obviously you're passing. But 1st and 2nd and goal inside the 5 should usually be runs when you have that caliber of talent at running back. But real quick, and
to be totally fair, that 4th down play, the 3rd Adams, I like the play call.
Yeah.
It was just the execution wasn't there. Adams dropped it. He should have caught it.
Well, yeah, that's true. Look, it would have worked. It hit him in the hands. If he caught it, which 9 out of 10 times he would have, we wouldn't really be having this conversation. But still, I would prefer to see them try to run the ball more around the goal line. But we've gone almost 25 minutes now without mentioning Mr. Aaron Rodgers. And as you can see, my jersey hanging right there, I had to take it out of its hiding place because that was the best. Dan Orlovsky went out today and said it's the best to see him in 5 years. I don't know about that, but it is the best we've seen him in a long time. One of just his overall best performances, in my opinion. Just complete domination, was locked in from snap 1 till the last play of the game. What do you think it's the progression in LaFleur's offense? Do you think it's trust in receivers? Do you think it's the motivation from the Love pick? What is put Rodgers on that level that we saw him on Sunday?
It's so many things. It's being comfortable. Thanks, Janelle. It's being comfortable and confident in the offense in year 2, which is something that we kind of knew was coming. In year 1, it was a little complex that, we heard about it. There were some issues getting plays in, some, people didn't know their jobs. But now in year 2, these guys, they're finally getting, grasping of what their duties are. They're getting a grasp of what they should be doing, and Aaron Rodgers is so much more comfortable in it. And he's I don't want to say buying in, because that's insinuating that he was never buying into it in the first place last year, but he's trusting more what they're doing, and it's just like a night and day difference between what he was last year and what he is this year, or what he is and what he was in week one. And it's also the receivers, that trust between Allen Lazard, Devontae Adams, and now we're starting to see Marquez Valdes-Scantling. The willingness and the confidence in throwing deep, which we saw last year. We saw him being able to throw the ball deep last year, but now he's doing it with confidence. He's more willing to throw deep, and he actually has a deep threat in Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Now, if Valdes-Scantling can turn into a deep threat that is reliable, if he can get out of his own head, which is something I was talking about this morning, if he can just get out of his own head, then that just unlocks this whole dimension of this offense. That opens up so much more possibilities and so many more. You can get into a whole conversation about play action. That's how many levels this unlocks. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, he could be the Jordy Jennings play action bombs that we've missed for the last 5 years.
And plays.
Yeah, exactly. And Rodgers said today in his press conference, that sometimes MVS needs to be kinder to himself and not be so hard on himself.
Yeah.
And look, obviously those drops were tough, but he also made some good plays. There's going to be good and bad. We've seen it out of Devontae. We've seen it out of even Jordy. There's going to be good and bad. But most importantly, what I love to see is the fact that Rodgers continue to trust him, continue to go to him, and that's only going to help his confidence and build their connection. And Rodgers also singled out Lazard, again, as someone that, he clearly just has full trust in. He will throw it to him in almost any situation. He's throwing to him, before he makes his break on his routes. It just shows that they're really on the same page. So I think Allen Lazard's MVS's stats may have outdone Allen Lazard's, but I think Lazard has proven that he's going to be the number 2 reliable target in this offense moving forward. And MVS will obviously be that deep threat, which I'm excited about. But one more thing, about this game before we do a little preview for the Lions. Unfortunately, we saw Kenny Clark leave with injury, which for the Packers' run defense is just about as bad a sight you can see. He did not practice today, and they said he was rehabbing. I haven't really seen any updates on the severity of the injury. Have you seen any news on his groin? I personally haven't.
Just that he was off to the side doing his own work today at practice. That's really about it. And they did bring in Billy Wynn.
Billy Wynn, yeah.
To the practice squad. He was drafted by Broncos in 2012, 6th-round pick. He's had an ACL injury. He's had a biceps injury. He's been banged up a lot. He's going into his 8th year, but he's only played 5 seasons, so that tells you all about his injury history.
Yeah, I looked at his stats, and I saw his last game was in 2016, and I was like,
yep.
Something doesn't look right here. But, that's basically what.
Yeah, as Jacob said, Clark didn't practice. He was just kind of doing his own rehab work, but they listed him as a DNP. But for Billy Wynn, I don't know how much incentive they'll have to activate him to the roster. We saw it with Chris Barnes. When there was a roster deficiency going into game day, 24 hours beforehand, they activated him to the 53-man roster. I don't know if they'll do that with Billy Wynn. Barnes has been here all offseason. He's been able to learn the playbook and stuff. But with Billy Wynn, if there's a deficiency along the defensive line, maybe they'll do it. Maybe they won't. Maybe he'll be able to play. Otherwise, they're going to roll into the game with no Clark. They're going to have Montravius Adams, Tyler Lancaster, Kingsley Keke, and Dean Lowry on their defensive line.
It'll be interesting to see. Against even though there might not be the best rushing attack, but it is technically 3 talented running backs in Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift, and Adrian Peterson. Now, Peterson has always been someone that kills the Packers, so that's never fun. But I believe I saw 40% of snaps Mike Pettin used a 1-4-6 alignment, 1 down lineman, 4 linebackers, 6 DBs, extremely light, obviously. and that can work at times, but against there's just begging teams to run on you. And even though Matthew Stafford could obviously beat the Packers through the air, we don't want to see Adrian Peterson and DeAndre Swift running all over us on Sunday either. So if right now you had to choose, if let's just say Kenny Clark isn't playing, are you more trying to stop their run game, or are you paying more attention still to Stafford in the passing game?
Definitely Stafford. I mean, depending on whether or not Galladay goes, which I know that's kind of up in the air. I know he hasn't been ruled out or anything like that yet, but Stafford has a history of tearing apart this defense, a very long history of having his way with his secondary. And even when Mike Pettin was brought in, that hasn't changed. So he's been in this league for a good while, since 2008. He knows what he's doing. And I know Adrian Peterson is Adrian Peterson. He's not really anyone you really have to center your game plan around stopping anymore. So I would definitely kind of just center your focus around Matthew Stafford and trying to slow him down, neutralize him the best you possibly can. And whatever happens with the run game, I think you can kind of trust whoever you load in the box. Like what they did against the Vikings, they from my rewatch, I saw a lot whenever it wasn't Chris Barnes, because he was only in there for 15 snaps. Whenever it wasn't Chris Barnes, there was a lot of Shannon Sullivan, a lot of Will Redmond, and a lot of Adrian Amos playing in the box. They were kind of just rotating in and out. If the Packers form some kind of rotation like that, and they could slow down Dalvin Cook to the best of their ability. Granted, the Vikings were down for a majority of the game, so they're not really going to, really pound the ball.
Yeah.
If they could do something like that and just do their best to slow down the running game with whoever they have in the box, I think that'll be good enough. But you definitely just have to slow down Matthew Stafford. That's priority number one, because he is going to rip off chunks of yardage through the passing game. That's without a doubt.
Yeah, we saw last year. We only played him once. He didn't play in the Week 17 game, but we almost lost that game. He probably should have lost that game. He had a lot of chunk plays down the field to Galladay and Jones. And that's kind of what we saw on Sunday out of the Packers defense, was these big plays that kind of we talked about last year a lot. It was a good defense overall, but they were letting up these big chunk plays. And the Packers, I'm sure you saw the stat, the Packers held the ball for over 41 minutes of time of possession. That's amazing. But then you got to think on the flip side, you gave up 34 points in 19 minutes. So, yes, you could say it was garbage time, and some of it was, but the chunk plays are definitely something they need to work on. You can't let teams in 2-3 possession games score in a minute and a half. The point is to make them score in 6-7 minutes, keep everything in front of you, make your tackles in bounds, and let them run clock. If you're letting guys get behind you in prevent defense, then you're not really preventing anything. So that's just what I want to see out of the defense, is more keep guys in front of you. Don't let Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay burn you deep. And I think, after Sunday's performance, I'm very confident in a Packers win on Sunday. I guess let's do quick score predictions, if you got any, Zach, for Sunday.
Aaron Rodgers has me
real quick. He didn't practice today, Kenny Galladay, so we don't know. Hopefully he doesn't, but he did not practice today.
Yeah, there's a chance they'll probably elevate him by then. I know their corners are definitely hurting, so that's good news for Aaron Rodgers.
They lost Coleman to IR, so the slot, I expect to see a lot of Devontae in the slot this week.
Yeah, and that's usually that's great news, because that's probably where he's best, in the slot, when getting him moved around, when he's on the outside, just playing in multiple positions. But the way Aaron Rodgers played last week, just watching him put the ball wherever he wanted, anywhere on the field, that had me feeling beyond confident now for the rest of the season. I think that was the high I needed right out of the gate to just kind of say, oh, the Packers are going 16-0. But at the same time, the defense kind of left me feeling a little dejected.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a modest 27-17. I think it'll still be a double-digit win. I think the Packers get the stops in the red zone, similar to what they were able to do last year. Not against the Lions, but against various other teams. Yeah, I think their defense is able to kind of clamp down in the red zone. I think there's going to be a lot of overreactions based off of what their defense wasn't able to do last week. Against Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, majority of it was in garbage time, but it's still very concerning. I think they'll clean up those mistakes and they'll get back to it this week, and they'll put together a more solid performance.
Yeah, I do think also it could be a high scoring game, not as much as last week. I'll go more. Let's go with a 31-21. I also think the Packers take it by a couple scores, but I really like the way this offense is looking. I think they can hit 30 points. And the Lions, I expect them to put up a couple touchdowns at least. So hopefully we're going to be looking at 2-0 for the Packers and moving into week 3. Any final thoughts or, maybe one player to look out for heading into Sunday, one storyline to keep an eye on throughout the weekend?
It's the obvious one. I want to see if Aaron Rodgers can sustain the level of play that he opened the season with. 32 of 44, 364, 4 touchdowns. After this whole offseason of Aaron Rodgers just washed, they drafted his replacement. He's on his way out. I know Dan Orlovsky said it was Aaron Rodgers' best game in 5 years, and Aaron Rodgers called it an over-exaggeration. He had some great games in 2017, and 2018, the messed up knee and everything. 2019, he had some solid games. 2016, the run the table stretch, he was on just an incredible level, some of the best quarterback play I've ever seen. Maybe 4 to 6 years, anywhere in that span, some of the best play from Aaron Rodgers that I've ever seen was last Sunday. Since then, that's for me, because he put the ball wherever the hell he wanted, and I have not seen him be able to do that in a long time. That was just insane. I want to see if he's able to do it again for a second consecutive week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be big, because obviously everyone's talking about Rodgers right now, revenge tour, MVP season, all the best, and obviously that's great, and we loved what we saw, but it's 1 week. We got to make sure we see that being consistent. And speaking of consistency, my guy I just want to look out for is MVS. I want to see him be able to build on that success, continue to see the targets, continue to make plays, and like Roger said, take the good with the bad. If you have a drop, don't let it get in your head, and then all of a sudden you're checked out for the rest of the game. And in last year's case, he checked out for the last 7 games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Stay in it. Realize you're in the NFL for a reason. You're a good player. You're catching balls from one of the best quarterbacks ever. You just got to stay on the field and make plays. So that's who I'm going to look out for on Sunday. And everyone who tuned in, sent in questions, listen, we really appreciate it. Before we go, make sure to give Zach a follow on Twitter at It's Zachariah J. You can find me on Twitter at @BookofEli_NFL. And of course, give Game On Wisconsin a follow on Twitter at GameOnWI. And yeah, we were. I hate saying that. It's so weird. But whatever. Game On WI. Either way. We'll see you all next week, hopefully at 2-0. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Oh, wait, one more comment.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got one more. I appreciate all the work. We appreciate that, Jamie, and we love doing this.
Thank you, Jamie. Love you to death.
Jamie, thanks for watching. Everyone else, thank you for watching as well. We'll see you next week.